Just finishing up rendering my tallow into tallow, I guess, my fat from our steer. So if you want to see how this process works and how to get it into a jar, follow along with me. Good morning, I'm Dawn, that farm wife. Today we're gonna render up some tallow. Tallow is the fat from a cow. So you may have watched me render lard. It's kind of the same process, but we're gonna use some water this time so that we can get it as pure as possible. But the first step is the same. We're gonna run it through the grinder to get it as small as possible so it will render the fastest. So let's get this out of here and start grinding. We got about 1.5 cups of water I'm gonna put in here. I'm gonna just stick it on the stove. So just gonna get that going at a really low heat and we'll start the rendering process. So I'm gonna show you the purpose for the water once the fat has been rendered. All right, so as you can see, I've got 2 big pots of the tallow rendering. It's at the very lowest heat that I can possibly do. It's coming along nicely. But one of the things I wanted to make sure you knew that we're gonna do is add some salt. So what I've done, and this is just regular kosher salt, we're gonna put that in there with the tallow. It's gonna help with the purifying process and help bring out all of the toxins, I guess you want to say. It's going to help clean the tallow. I want to say lard because, you know, it's fat. Anyway, so I put in the salt, giving it a stir, and like I said, it'll just help pull out all the toxins out of the meat and draw them out as we render it, and kind of conglomerate them into one chunk. And you'll see that when we get down to the part where we can strain it and let it solidify, and then you'll see the, you know, like the bad stuff in there. All right, so we've got this going. It's gonna take a while. It's good to just give it a stir every once in a while, help get the tallow to render down, and basically it's just a melting process. You can see the little tiny chunks of beef there. I am going to tell you, if you don't have a grinder, if you're trying to homestead, you need one. Go ahead and get a grinder. But if you don't have one and you've got some tallow or lard you want to render, just chop it up into the smallest bits that you possibly can, and then go ahead and start the rendering process. Strain the tallow, and I found these mesh spoons, I guess. I think a TJ Maxx or something like that, or maybe a Marshall's. So they really come in handy for this because you can kind of just get rid of some of the bigger chunks. I'll ladle it through. I'm holding on to this. So I've got, you know, mesh strainer, cheesecloth. That's going to be my method, but I'm going to get rid of these big chunks first. And I know before you've seen me, I put it into jars at this point. But what we're going to do is put it into some bowls. And then that way, and then we'll put it in the fridge and it'll solidify, and then we'll show you that next step where we really get the purification process down a little bit more than just boiling it. This just keeps my strainer from getting all clogged up. All right, so I'm gonna put this bowl, it's very hot. I'm gonna have to use some pot holders. And I'll put it in the fridge so that it'll solidify. So I just want you to be able to like take a look, see what the kind of finished not finished product, but after it's done rendering. I need to hold my camera still for you, sorry about that. Anyway, so you can see that there's just a little bit of the bubbles on top, and the solid parts have sunk to the bottom. That's what you're looking for. It does take a few hours. You want to get all of that fat off of there that you possibly can. All right, so we're going to continue doing this, and we'll do something else, okay? Try and get this out of here. The reason why I used this metal bowl is it's thin, and you can kind of, you know, try and pop out this oil. So I really didn't have a whole lot of water in there. What I really wanted to show you was, apparently I got this pretty clean, because typically what would happen is on this underside, you would see like all the impurities, but I didn't really get any. But I think maybe I don't have enough water, so I'm gonna melt it, put some more water in it, and then try this little method again to see if that helps. Oh, that one had a little bit more water in it. Now if you can see, the water in there is kind of brown. So we are getting rid of the impurities by doing that. All right, so it's time to finish up this little project. So what I didn't show you was I, had taken all the tallow out of the bowls. There was just a little tiny bit of brown water, not a lot. So I reheated it up on the stove, added some more water, let it set again till it's solid like you see. And the reason why I put it in like these flimsy bowls is because you want to be able to pop it out of here. So you want to be able to like loosen it up and get it going. Which, yeah, maybe I'll pop it out of here. We'll see. Goodness. There we go. I don't know if you've seen that. There's some water come out. All right. So I must have done a really good job with rendering this fat, because there's nothing dirty underneath here. The water that was in the bowl was clean. Oh, that's all on my thing. So I am really going to heat it up again though, without any water this time, and that way I can pour it into mason jars to store it. And actually hardly any water in this one at all. But you can see, like, my lard it's clean, or not lard, tallow. You know what I'm talking about. All right. trying to do that without getting water everywhere. So the water separates out. So if you have enough water in there, the water separates out. All the bad stuff will sink to the bottom if I'd had any in there. Yeah, so that's rendering tallow. So thanks for joining me. You don't need to see me melt this and put it in a jar. Just melting it, pouring it in a mason jar. Looks like a block of cheese, doesn't it? Anyway, take care.